What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are going to be adjusting or fixing the factory tire carrier on a Jeep Wrangler with the Xtreme Recon, or what is now called the Xtreme 35 package. Now, there is physically nothing wrong with this thing. There's just some adjustment that I'm going to do to it that I would normally do if I was installing one of these on a customer vehicle at the shop. Now, what I'm talking about here is the tailgate reinforcement and the tire carrier relocation bracket. Both of these come standard with those two packages, and when you're installing these as a standalone, Mopar accessory, they come with a bunch of shims that you can shim the tire carrier further out from the vehicle or remove them and have it shoved in all the way. And for whatever reason, I've been keeping an eye on all of the Xtreme Recon and now Xtreme 35 package Wranglers that have come into the shop and my own, and for whatever reason, Mopar has decided to install one of the shims when they are installing this tire carrier, and I really don't think they need to. Now, all that shim is doing is shoving the tire carrier out a quarter inch or so. Now, is that anything huge? No, not really, but another quarter inch of leverage hanging off the back of the tailgate when you have a big, huge, heavy wheel and tire assembly is only beneficial to get rid of that quarter inch of adjustment, shove the tire into the tailgate a little bit closer, and then, like I'll show you guys, these have rubber bumpers basically that the tire rests on. It's not even resting on those bumpers very tightly. You can take and turn those bumpers by hand with the tire bolted on all the way. So all of that tells me that the tire could use going in a little bit further. Okay, so now with a little bit of light on the situation, we can see what I am talking about. So here is our plastic tire carrier, and there is a small metal shim between the tire carrier and the tire carrier relocation bracket. Now, what that's doing is shoving the tire away from the tailgate just a small amount, and here is our rubber bumper that you guys can see that can actually be turned by hand because there is very little pressure of the tire pushing up against the tailgate. So guys, this is a super easy fix or adjustment since it's supposed to be adjusted from the factory. But to start off with, we are going to need to get our spare tire pulled off and out of the way. So we need a T30 Torx to get our tire camera cover removed, and then we've got our 22 millimeter lug nuts here on the back, and then we will get our spare tire lifted off and out of the way. So with all of that taken off, we can actually see what we've got going on here. We've got our spare tire carrier relocation bracket here that basically moves that tire carrier a few inches upward from the factory location. This is a completely separate Mopar accessory. This is the tire carrier reinforcement, or the tailgate reinforcement bracket, which bolts onto the hinges and adds some strength to the tailgate where the big heavy wheel and tire bolts on. And then, like I said, our tire carrier relocation bracket bolts onto the existing location and then has a new set of studs that the tire carrier slips onto. And we've got those quarter inch or so spacers behind all four corners of this thing, moving it outward just a little bit. Now guys, keep in mind you might not need to remove yours depending on if you've got an aftermarket wheel and tire or a wider tire on the factory wheel. It just is very much going to depend on your wheel and tire setup. But at the end of the day, you want decent pressure on those rubber bump stops. That is, again, supporting a little more weight or load on that tire so you have a little less flex on the tailgate. And again, not that a quarter inch is that huge of a deal, but moving that in reduces the mechanical leverage on the, spare tire carrier of that big, huge, heavy wheel and tire. So every little bit counts when you're talking about a heavy wheel and tire. So to remove those spacers, all we've got to do is take those 13mm nuts off, slide the tire carrier out of the way, pull those spacers, shove it back on, and tighten them. It's super easy. Like I said, this is meant to be adjustable depending on your wheel and tire setup. So we're going to grab a 13 and take all of them out. Now once you've got all of the nuts pulled off, again, you're just going to slide the tire carrier off and out of the way. Now do keep in mind you do have electrical here for your third brake light and camera, so don't go and drop this thing. But once you've got this off, again, all we're doing is sliding off these metal or aluminum shims so we can get that tire carrier to sit a little bit closer. So once we've got those off, again, we're going to throw our washers and nuts back on. And do keep in mind, these washers are concaved washers, so you're going to want to have the dome facing up, if that matters or makes sense here, as you are throwing all the hardware back on this thing. So now that we've got that all bolted on and tight, we'll be able to throw our spare tire back on this thing, bolt it down, and we should have some more pressure on our bump stops here for the rear spare tire. All right, guys, so now looking back in between with our spacers removed, we have a lot more push on our tire carrier bump stops. You can see before where I was able just to take and twist this thing, there's actually some decent pressure on this now, and it's actually supporting the tire, which is kind of what its point is. So guys, that's the extent of our quick, easy 5-minute mod here on this thing to reduce the amount of spacers behind our tire carrier on our Xtreme Recon or Xtreme 35 package Wrangler. Like I said, is this going to hurt anything on your vehicle if you just leave it? No, absolutely not. It will be completely fine. I myself have just installed hundreds of these tailgate reinforcement and tire carrier relocation brackets at the shop on customer vehicles, and I typically always start with no spacers when I am installing them and work from there. So it just seemed kind of odd that Mopar added one right from the factory, but yeah, I like it tucked in just a little bit tighter so you, again, have a little less mechanical leverage on the back of that tailgate. You have a little more pressure on those bump stop pieces supporting the tire, and heck, you've reduced the length of your Wrangler by a 1/4 inch, and maybe that's all it'll take to get through a trail. You won't be hitting something that you would have before. So guys, I don't know, super easy, quick thing that isn't going to cause any issues if you don't do it, but maybe it will make our Jeeps last a little bit longer if you do it and you don't have the weight hanging off just that little bit farther. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage on another new 2024 Jeep Wrangler 3.6 liter Xtreme 35 488 geared video here. And guys, I am so ready to go off-roading with this thing. We've got a few more things to do to it before I'm ready to go off-roading, because we do have some different wheels and tires over here in the other side of the garage, so we need to go a little bit taller, but it's all going to be explained, and it's actually going to be a super budget build that should actually get more suspension travel while remaining streetable with the 35s. It should be pretty cool. So look forward to that in an upcoming video. And then we'll be hitting the trail and actually doing some stuff in the rocks. So guys, again, thank you so much for coming out in the garage with me today. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.